Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, including a thank you, Mr Speaker, for your ruling. It's a reminder for all of us to be very mindful of the importance of dates in this place. And so I reflect to start this MPI on the date of the 3rd of December 2021, for that was the day when the Labor Party launched its Powering Australia plan. That was the date when the now Prime Minister first made his promise to reduce household power bills by $275. That promise broken. On the 5th of December 2021, in making Labor's Plan for a Better Future speech, the now Prime Minister promised the Australian people that household power bills would be reduced by $275. That promise is broken. On the 9th of March 2022, the now Prime Minister, in a speech to the AFR in its New Platform for Growth conference, promised the Australian people that household power bills would be reduced by $275. That promise broken. On the 1st of May 2022, the now Prime Minister promised the Australian people that he would reduce power prices for households by $275, and that promise is broken. On the 7th of May 2022, the Prime Minister, the now Prime Minister, promised at another Labor launch that it would reduce power prices for the Australian household by $275. That promise has since been broken. On the 18th of May 2022, at the Press Club, the now Prime Minister had made it very clear to the Australian people that he had a solid bond with them, and he made a promise to reduce household power bills by $275. That promise has since been broken. You see, Deputy Speaker, dates do matter, and so too do promises. And all I've rattled off here is half a dozen of the times where the Prime Minister and the Labor Party had promised the Australian people to reduce household power bills by $275. On 97 occasions, this promise was made to the Australian people. And it's not just the Prime Minister who is at fault here. Every single member of the Labor Party who sit opposite are at fault, are guilty of breaking this promise. Every single Labor Party MP and candidate went to the last election promising constituents in their electorates that their household power bills would come down by $275. Every single time they made that promise, they were making a promise that would not be delivered, a promise that instead would be broken. And yet we have question after question from the coalition put to the Prime Minister during question time, raising issues on the part of constituents, families that are struggling, small businesses that are struggling, asking the Prime Minister if he will commit to the $275 promise. But the Prime Minister refuses to make that commitment. He won the election on the back of that promise, and now he is breaking the hearts of Australian households and their budgets by breaking that very promise. And every single Labor MP that's going to stand up as part of this debate and try and defend their record, try and defend their Prime Minister, they too are standing up as part of a protection racket, trying to protect a Prime Minister who has told an untruth to the Australian people and he sits here at every single question time and seeks to bat away questions that come on behalf of constituents, on behalf of Australian families who are amidst a cost of living crisis today. This Prime Minister is completely removed, completely out of touch, and the protection racket no doubt will continue over the next 20, 30, 40 minutes as Labor MPs come up and try to defend the fact that they broke a promise of a $275 reduction in household power bills. Now, the Prime Minister is from New South Wales. There are parts of New South Wales that by the end of next financial year, they would have seen their average power bill go up by $933 since the Prime Minister made that promise. How much the member for Fisher very wisely asked, $933 power prices will go up. And do you know how much they promised to get them down? $275. The member for Fisher wins the prize today. Now, if you add the $275 to the $933, you round it off, then basically the Prime Minister has promised to reduce power bills $1,200 more than what they're actually going to pay. That's the variance. So $1,200. So anybody in Sydney, especially Western Sydney, represented in part by the minister responsible, the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, any of his constituents, next time you see the minister, make sure you tell him he owes you $1,200. Next time you see the Prime Minister, make sure you tell him he owes you $1,200. Anybody in New South Wales, next time you see a Labor MP, tell them they owe you $1,200. You know, there was a Western Sydney mum of three who was reported on in the Daily Telly last week, Deputy Speaker. And this mum of three has already made the decision that in winter, especially if it gets tough, she won't be able to turn on the heating. This is a mum of three kids. She won't be able to turn on the heating. So instead, it's blankets and it's socks. Blankets and socks, already planning ahead for the winter because this government has broken its promise of a $275 reduction in household power bills. And I take the interjection from the minister at the table here talking about a decade, and she's right. She's right in two parts. Firstly, a decade that saw power prices come down, Deputy Speaker. You know, in the last term of government alone, and this is probably why the minister is so interested, in the last term of government alone, household power bills came down by 8%.
Member for
Businesses, 10%.
Order.
Industry,
Member
12%.
For Fairfax, just be quiet for a moment, please. There's a lot of interjections going on. I'm finding it quite difficult to hear. Not you, because I can hear you, but I'm hearing a lot of interjections over here too. And just dial it down. Otherwise, I will rule on you.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And
I've said over there too, if you want to keep it up.
Do I have the call, Deputy Speaker?
You have the call now, Member for Fairfax.
The last term of government alone, household prices down 8%, businesses down 10% and industry down 12%. Instead, we have, under this government, prices going up. We've already spoken about how much they're going up, but the DMO was announced last week, the draft DMO. So these are retail prices that are going to be going up as of the 1st of July this year. New South Wales households, an increase of $564. South Australia, $485 up. South East Queensland, $383 up. Regional Queensland, $430 up. Victoria, $426 up. We talk about a decade in which the coalition was able to get the balance right. We reduced emissions, kept the economy strong, kept prices down. Labor had a decade of dithering, a decade to put a policy together. And what do? They put a policy together, the core promise of which is a reduction in household power bills by $275. Has that promise been delivered or broken? It has been broken, Deputy Speaker, and every single Labor MP is guilty. Last Christmas, people were told they would receive relief from this government flowing in April. We've since heard they're not going to get that relief in April at all. This government is breaking promises in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and there is no greater promise they have broken than that of a $275 reduction in household power bills.